My name is Carlo Gennarelli, also known as Professor Carlo Gennarelli. So I started here full-time a year ago. It's my second full-time year. And it's great. It's great. I think one of the great things about this MFA program is the variety of professors that are involved in it. They all have very different backgrounds, but all apropos to learning documentary. For instance, myself, coming from a post-production background, doing a lot of TV-style documentary. Skip Bloomberg, who was kind of a pioneer in documentary work. Sybil Del Gaudio did, a big documentary a few years ago. Christine, Dennis Mazar, everybody, Ashish, they all come from a different angle. Who's maybe best in camera work, who's great in writing, who's great in just overall putting together. So I think you have a lot of rich experience to draw on coming here. I also think that being located so close to Manhattan, there's a wealth of stories out there. I mean, you can't come here and say, oh, I got nothing to talk about, because then, there's something wrong with you. If you can't find a story either here on Long Island or in Manhattan or the tri-state area, I mean, this is to many people around the world, this is the center of the universe. You're right here doing it. You're empowered. You have a camera, you have a microphone, go out there and do it. You can't ask for anything better, a better opportunity. It's amazing. I started, as a visual artist, and I did shows in Soho, what was called conceptual photography, photographs that, had an idea behind them that were linked together, did some painting. Then when I got into television, even on the side, I would then transform that into doing what I called video pieces, kind of early video art, which I still do today to a degree. And when then I became an editor for the network and beyond, it was that aesthetic that I applied of pictures working. People don't think how much more information you can give with just a picture. What is it? What is the connection you're making? You can really tell so much more through the juxtaposition of images and what somebody is saying. And that's what attracts me to documentary work, is that there's no script. There really isn't. You can go out there, and I found this personal experience, thinking you're going after one story and finding a whole new one. And that was advice that was given to me, even as a professional, and I give to my students. Always go with your best stuff. You really have to go out with an open mind and come back with your best stuff. And then the real problem, especially through post-production, which I think is where most documentaries are really formed, make or break, is how do you tell that story? It's not just a matter of, the technical skill of making a dissolve or a cut or putting audio underneath, but what comes first? I really have developed, I have to say, from being known as a visual editor. I was known in the heyday, especially before we went nonlinear, of being able to do all these amazing effects, be able to really interpret photos and pictures and footage, really make it look rich and do wild things with it, be a very visual and even graphic guy using word, that kind of whole thing. And then when I moved into being more of a producer editor, I really developed a sense of story. That to me is what I like now. I've the visual thing is important, but if you don't have a good story, it doesn't mean anything. So that's really what I try to do to my own work that I still do and impart to the students. An editor is really about deciding what you're going to tell and what you're not going to tell. When we were editing in edit rooms that cost $1 million, and the machines alone to play back the tapes were about $60,000. Clearly, they weren't letting just anybody come in there and operate that machinery. You had to have some kind of a background, a skill set, know somebody, and there weren't, it was like a closed brotherhood. But when it went to, nonlinear editing on computers, at first it still was, a little expensive, but then that technology trickled down, as it often does, to basically the consumer level. So, one good thing about that is now that anybody with an idea doesn't have an excuse to not do it. I mean, it's fairly inexpensive, attainable to edit together a professional-looking product. And the cameras now, with the advent of first digital tape, DV, and now all shot on cards, and it's HD. It's just amazing. You really can do and reach a larger audience with the internet. Now, at least if you can go out, you can shoot something, edit something, and put it on the web. And maybe you're not making money on it, but at least people are seeing it. You're getting your statement out. So it does, open up. The new technology does open up a whole new way of communicating, with images and sound that before was held for just an elite group of professionals. I think that causes the influx for people to want to learn more, to come to Hofstra, like places like Hofstra, to learn, okay, how exactly do I do this? What's not only the how, but the why? Let me gain from other people's experience in kind of a encapsulated way, so I can go out and make my own movies. It is more attainable that way. So it's a good thing. It's really a good thing, because there's no excuse now. It's not, it's kind of like spreading the wealth. If you want to be a well-rounded documentary storyteller, you got to be able to, decide how's the best way to get this stuff. How's the best way to organize it, I think it's the most important skill to have. It really is the basic skill. People come to a program or a school and say, okay, I'm going to be a documentary filmmaker, or I'm going to be well, it's kind of like learning piano. I mean, we can teach you all the notes and show you, the works from great masters and say, read this music, okay? But if you don't have the chops, if you don't have it in you, it's limited, Not saying that you couldn't work in a certain facet of the industry, but you do have to have a certain amount of desire and aptitude, and to be able to tell stories visually, and especially documentary-wise, where you're casting a wide net and then you want to pull out the main points, to get it across, to keep the audience's attention. That is a skill.